Okay, Jackie, before we get into your session, I'm just going to go over a couple things just so I can answer any questions you might have beforehand. I pulled you some oracle cards. We're not going to go over them in the session, but I will send you guidebook descriptions as well as pictures because that would be a deeper level of messaging. And then I asked each one of your chakras what kind of crystals would help them with their healing and with their growth. And I built you a crystal grid, so I'll send you a picture of that as well. And then I will get the recording to you later today. Does that sound okay?
Perfect.
Awesome. Okay, so for the notes that I have from you, we want to talk about soul mission. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And is there anything else that has come up in between booking the session and now, specific questions or just topics or focus on?
Nothing that I can think of in particular. I have been noticing a lot more like ear ringing, and I'm just now taking the time to stop and be like, okay, now who's trying to communicate?
Yeah.
What's going on?
Okay. I did have a guide come forward today that wants to kind of make itself known to you. So that might be that guide as well.
That might be.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So when I went into, tell me before I get into that, what's going on with your energy healing abilities right now? How are we utilizing those? Are we utilizing those?
I am a nurse and I am currently teaching medical assistants, but I'm really wanting to get more into the natural healing, energy healing. So just trying to, get over my fear of doing that.
Yeah, sure. What do you think what do you think the fears are? Because I have some that came up today that have to do with some inner child stuff that we'll talk about.
Yeah. Yes. Lots of inner child work, which I'm just starting on. So.
Oh, that's good though. Okay, good. And you probably were drawn to nursing because you're a natural healer. So, and sometimes when we don't know how to get into that in our own avenues yet, we'll go into like social work or nursing or something like that. So, okay. So is the ultimate goal to exit kind of modern medicine and to go like homeopathic? Do you want to
that's our ultimate goal.
Do you want to stay within nursing and apply those?
I'm really pretty open. Just whatever I'm supposed to be doing here to help this world.
Yes. Okay. So why do you want to make a pivot from nursing to maybe doing homeopathic energy healing? Because you are helping. Is what your higher self is saying. It's just maybe not in the exact capacity you wanted to. So why are we wanting to make that switch?
Just the way healthcare is right now. It's all for profit and it feels like a factory. It doesn't feel like it's really helping the individual. We're just treating symptoms.
Yes. We're not, it's not giving the loving, caring vibes.
Yes, that's exactly right there.
Okay. Yes. Okay. So we'll get into this a little bit more and then maybe that will open up some pathways for you. So when I went to your energy fields, I saw this smoke and it was coming out of something's nostrils and I walked up to it and it was a dragon. I was like, oh, hello. So his name is Eldridge. He said that you can call him. Yes. I was like, okay, Eldridge. So he's been with you for quite a while. He's kind of been in the background a little bit because he has to do with some of your spiritual energy healing abilities. And those have kind of been back here a little bit because of the inner child healing stuff that we're talking about. And so if that's somebody that you want to call on and work with, he would love to do that, especially because dragons are really great at helping people, specifically like fire dragons are really great at helping people release like heavy PTSD and trauma and just like those heavier aspects of ourselves. So he'd be really great for that, especially with your inner child healing. So when the smoke was coming out of his nose, he was blowing on this. It was like this circular thing, and I was like, "Oh, what is this?" And he blew all this smoke on it, and it was dust that came off, and it was a diamond that was in the middle of it. And he said that one of your abilities is to help people with their self-concept. You are able to see the best aspects of them, and you're able to reflect that back to them via helping them release those heavier things that create those filter lenses and those distortions. So you can just see the true aspects of someone behind the trauma, right? And you help them see themselves in their true mirror, if you will. When I said that, your higher self said, in order to raise others' self-concept, we need to be raising our own, like continuously doing that. And she said, one of the ways that we can do that is by helping others with their self-concept, because we're constantly hearing our own words back to us. Okay. So what comes up when I say that?
Yeah, I can see that. because I try to always raise my self-concept, but then, I was just telling myself this today. I'm like, why? I just need to step into it. Then that way, it's like I'm holding myself back for some reason. But I don't, and it's the inner child and getting stronger and stronger with just stepping into it, being more ready to step into it.
Yeah. Is that something that you feel that you do with people who are your, because I know you said that you're training medical assistants, is that right? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So is that something that you feel like you're utilizing that gift with them currently? Like,
I
hey,
am.
you got it. Like you're so
Yes,
special,
all
you're
the
awesome, you're
time.
amazing, and like all these different things, right? Okay. So
100%.
how does that make you feel when you are hyping them up? Are these a lot of like young people? Does that make sense?
Yeah, like 19, 20s, right out of school, not going to
Yes.
college, and this is, so, and it makes me feel great. It's probably the most rewarding job I've had in a long, long time.
That's awesome. It kind of sounds like you're stepping your way on into to your gift
Yeah.
already, right? Okay. So what is it about this that you do not think that this is already you or that you're already doing it?
That's a really good question.
Or maybe you weren't aware that this was a gift that you had in the first place and just like, oh, everybody does this because that's not everybody.
I think
Everybody doesn't do
it.
that.
Yes, I think that's it. Because that's just how I've always been. So to me, it doesn't feel like a gift.
Yeah, sometimes it's hard to see our own abilities when we've just had it the whole time, and then we just assume that everybody else is like that. Right? And everybody can be like that. Everybody can teach themselves how to be a hype person for others and how to lift them up and help them see the best aspects of them. But not everybody chooses to do that. Some people have other modalities and things that they get into, but that's part of your archetypal structure is you're everybody's hype person. Okay. Yes. And your higher self is like, hey, if we want to do that, though, we have to be our biggest hype person. Because those little babies that you're helping, if we want to be led by somebody confidently, we need to be led by somebody who feels confident within themselves. And so I think just after today, like just you and I having this conversation, it's like, oh yeah, I do have this really awesome gift. Like that I am helping these children, not children, but helping these children with. Okay. And then you'll be able to kind of point it at them more directly and see the after effects of, okay, if I know this is a very skilled gift that I have, and I'm conscientiously aware of that now, the magnitude of energy that I can point at them is going to skyrocket because now our gift is on. And now we're like, okay, I can use this, right? More intentionally. Okay. So when I went deeper into your field, I was taken to this field, like an actual field. Okay. And there was this giant bird that came out, and I've never seen a bird like this before. It kind of looked like a phoenix, like a giant phoenix, but it was blue instead. And I hopped on its back, and then he took me down into this forest, and it was in Peru. And then there was this Peruvian shaman that came forward, and I was like, oh, hello. And I introduced myself to him, and I was explaining why I was there. And he said, you are one of his daughters. So you have some ancestral lineage from Peruvian shamans in the way back. Okay. And so when he was saying daughters, he just means you're part of their Peruvian shamanic lineage, right? And then he started to take this feather that he had gotten from either that bird or a different bird, and he started waving it over your body, and he was putting some like face paint on you. And I asked him what he was doing, and he said it's an initiation ceremony. So, okay. So have you had any synchronicities or anything like that, or been interested in like Peruvian shamanism specifically?
And I don't watch a lot of TV, and I was watching PBS Explore the other day, and a show about food from Peruvian food came on. I was like, oh, well, that's interesting. Wow, that sounds like I was instantly drawn to it.
Yes. That's because you got some of the DNA in there from Peru. Okay. So there's a couple different things you can do. This one, again, I haven't seen that bird before. I looked up thunderbirds. Thunderbirds are from Native American culture, however, but it's some type of mythological bird. Do you do any type of meditative work, like ethereal work in meditation?
Yes, I've been doing a lot of guided meditation, a lot of I had you read my energy a week ago, and you gave me some angel meditations to do, and I've been doing those lately.
Nice. Okay. I'm going to send you this guy. His name's Alberto. He's actually a Peruvian shaman and a psychologist. And he has a lot of information about just like shamanic journey and things of that nature. I think if you check out some of his videos, it'll kind of open up and unlock some of this. I would go in meditation and and you can use the shamanic journey meditation I send you or a different one and ask to connect to that bird, because I think that bird is part of your Peruvian family, if that makes sense, almost like a power animal or a totem animal. And if you're able to connect with it, you're going to be able to unlock a lot of these memories from that timeline. Awesome. Okay. Now with the Peruvian shamanism, there's a lot of different things you could do with that. Okay. So sometimes persons are a little trepidatious about getting into shamanism because like, well, I'm not going to Peru to go study. I'm not going to Costa Rica to go study, or I don't have any like persons who are into that. I'm sorry.
Turn that down if the opportunity arose.
Yes. Okay. Maybe you do that too, because there's lots of like that guy Alberto. He went and studied and everything. But something else that you can do is actually go in meditation and channel from those shamans. They can teach you directly from your ancestral lineages, right? So they're not going to come in and do anything against your free will. So like with anything, you have to ask them like, hey, I would love to receive downloads and insights or medicine, or for you to teach me the traditional paths of healing. So if you're really wanting to get into holistic healing and homeopathic healing, that would be the way to go. Okay, so in order to kind of imbue your energy field with more of their medicine, I would just really start researching Peruvian shamanism. Like Peruvian culture, it's going to start unlocking things left and right, like past memories of different incarnations that you've had. And yes, we still need to study things on the human 3D plane, right? Because our human needs a lot of like tangibility, but a lot of this is going to be coming from your ancestors teaching you directly. So when you get to this point where you're stepping more into your soul mission, kind of working for yourself, if that's what you want to do, sometimes we're nervous about calling ourselves shamans or utilizing shamanic practices. And so that is something that you are going to have to, like I have, come to truth within self of like, I have a lot of ancestors who are directly teaching me these pathways, even if I have not necessarily gone to Costa Rica or Peru or wherever else a shaman might go to study. So what comes up when I say that?
It's I can see where I'm going to have a hard time embodying.
Okay, that's why your higher self is like, make sure you tell her this.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's something that I really, and you know, it's good to talk about it now because it will come up. That's something that I really struggled with. I was in the bathroom at a restaurant one day and I got this download of like, oh, we're going to teach you how to be a shaman. And I was like, I can't be a shaman. Like I'm Caucasian. Like I don't feel like I'm okay to call myself that in the first place. Okay. And I just don't have any information, and I am not going to these places to get trained. And they're saying, no, you have all of these different incarnations where you were one or you worked with them. And I was almost blocking my own self. And they would tell me time and time again, like I went to a Native American site one day and I got this big activation and they were telling me, we really want you to step into this. And I was just giving them so much resistance because I was like, I don't feel comfortable with this. And all the time they were telling me, you're a healer. We love that you have this. We want you to do this. Like, please bring the medicine to the people. Okay. Like you're doing it in a very respectful and honorable way. And you're constantly, just like yourself, I'm going to fix my camera here. Just like yourself, we're constantly studying. We're super self-aware. We're being very respectful. They're saying, just do it. Okay, they want you to do it, and you have a history of doing it. Okay, so she wants you to hear that, for deeper down into your journey when those things start coming up. Okay.
All right.
Okay. So when I went deeper into your field, one of your inner children came forward. And I was trying to ask her what age she was, but she was being very nervous and very shy. And I was like, okay, how about we do this? How about I name out some random numbers? And then when I say the right one, you go ding. And she said, okay. So I started saying, okay, 2, 3, 4. I said 100. And she thought that was really funny. And I just was saying all these random numbers. But we landed on 11. She was 11 years old. And she asked if she could give me something. And I said yes. And I held out my hand and she put a turtle inside of it. And I asked her what that was for. And she said, okay, turtles sometimes can be representative in shamanism of coming out of your shell or staying in your shell. And in this case, it was staying in her shell. Like she was very nervous. You have a lot of walls and guards up.
I do. Yeah.
When I was trying to read your energy field, I was like, oh, we having to bust through some barriers here. To see anything. Okay, which is fine. That's typically like a trauma response, and it's sometimes not even from this incarnation, it could be from like different incarnations. So I asked her what's going on, why did she want to meet with me today? And I was speaking to her about your spiritual gifts and what you're able to do, and she said, I don't want to do that because I feel that they're laughing at me. I said, who's laughing at you? And then she kind of showed me just like kind of these different people in your life when you were younger. I think it was like friends maybe, or just persons. And I said, well, what are they laughing at you at? And she said, me not being smart enough and not knowing the right things to say. I said, well, why do you feel like you need to say the right things? And she said, well, if I don't, then I won't fit in. And she was just saying, I never felt like I really fit in with people just in general. And that might be representative in the past or now. It might be. Well, it might be both.
Yeah, and I grew up with a family of assholes, so they were always just very toxic.
Yes. Okay, that's probably why you had to kind of go in that shell. And like, I'm not going to show you the real me because I know you're going to laugh at me, if that makes sense. Yes. Yeah. Okay. So I was showing her that my life, and sometimes when I'm working with inner kids, I usually draw on people that have had similar experiences as me. So I showed her this memory ball of all the things that I have been through in my life because same. And I was like, but I want you to see my life now. And I showed her specifically one of my friends that I just feel so open and free and loved and supported and amazing. And I was like, we're a perfect match for one another. And I said, you're going to meet so many people like this. And she didn't even think that that was like a reality. That was like even, and I said, no, look at my energy compared to yours and where I'm at now. I said, this is a potential for you as well. I said, this is going to happen for you the more that you step into your gifts and your abilities and your authentic truth and like expressing yourself. And I said, one of the ways that you can do this is through building your own communities. Kind of like we were talking about, like maybe you getting into homeopathic adventures or shamanic adventures, right? Because now we're drawing in people who are in soul resonance with us. These are like very high vibrational, high frequency beings that are very open and loving and, self-aware. So it's not representative of the people that she has had in the past. And I said, when you meet these people, that stuff's not going to matter anymore.
Yes.
You're not going to care about that pain and that trauma. You're going to be like, we're forward moving right now. And we're going to let that go. And I asked her how she would feel if she was in a community like that. And she said, I like making people feel good. I said, me too. I said, that's great. And let me see what she wrote here. I want to talk to her. Okay, I asked her what she needed from you. And she said, I want to talk to her more. Like she wants to be in communication. And let me see, people who embrace you free. Okay, and I said, there are going to be so many people who embrace you for exactly who you are, which I think is happening right now, like the beginning stages of it with the people that you're training. They're like oh, yeah, they probably look at you like a mama bird. Okay, like taking care of them and like leading the way. Okay. And when we were doing the meditation, I told her, I was like, hey, if you want to talk to me during the session, my ears are open. Okay, I can hear you. And when we were doing the meditation, I saw her in the dark. And I was like, hey, why don't we go outside where it's nice and pretty outside? And she was like, no, I don't want to go out there. And I was like, okay, why don't you want to go out there? And she was like, I'm worried about the people out there. And I was like, there's no people. I was like, it's just me and Jackie. I said, it's just me and her. Okay. And she was like, oh, okay. And then I got her to come outside, in that kind of like etheric field I was in before. But she's just really afraid of people. Just generally, like, and again, it was just a safety trauma response of being hurt a lot and being made to kind of like retract into self. It's like, okay, well, who's going to hurt me next?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what are we doing to combat that? Combat is not the right word. What are we doing to circumvent that? Okay.
I am not real sure what to do, actually.
Okay. Okay. So where do you feel like this is hindering in you in life, or where it's presenting in life?
That's probably ultimately what's holding me back, is still scared of what others think.
What do you think that they're going to think about you?
I don't know. It's a good question.
Okay. Oh, that what?
That I'm crazy.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Being her crazy self again.
Yeah. Yeah. I can see that, especially when you're probably, because you're in such a structured paradigm right now within healthcare, and everybody does the same thing. It's very like this, and you're over here with your wild ideologies and saying like, oh, you don't need medicine. We can go do these, like go out in nature. Okay. Yes, I can see that. Okay. So if we were going to step outside of the healthcare paradigm, okay, so let's say that you weren't working there anymore, what would be the fears then of people's perceptions of you?
Maybe that I'm not enough. Who is this person to tell me what to do or spread her ideas?
Yeah. How long have you been a nurse?
12 years.
That's a long time.
Yeah, I've been in healthcare for 25 years, so that's all I've ever known is healthcare.
Yeah. Okay. So if we've been in there for 25 years, why do you think that you have that kind of fear running of somebody's going to tell me I don't know what I'm talking about? Because you've been doing it for so long.
It's different.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, I do have the knowledge. I've done lots and lots of different things with experience. So I've got the experience. It's just maybe it's that inner child that I still need to heal. I'm still scared to just own it.
Yeah. Own your knowledge and wisdom. Yeah. Okay. Do you think that you have some, because I can kind of feel that a little bit. Do you have something of like, okay, well, I can't show my greatness because then there's a propensity of being hurt. There's like a light on me.
Yeah.
Right. Because you know how awesome you are. And so if you let that out, people are attracted to you. And if we're afraid people are going to hurt us, or, sometimes we have to, like, we like to be humble. We don't want to like be braggadocious. And so we're like, oh, I don't want to do that. I don't want to make others feel like they're being put down, even though that's not what it is. I had a conversation with somebody yesterday and saying, because she had a lot of similar fears about feeling like she was being condescending or manipulative or narcissistic to express her gifts and talents, because so many people had weaponized things like that against her in her life.
Yes, and I've had that as well.
Yes, and I was explaining to her, you're not those people though. You are not those people. Like nobody is assuming that of you. And in order for us to be leaders for others, kind of like you're being right now, but in a greater capacity later on too, they want someone who sees their own greatness and is confident in that. Because in order to help them reach that level, they have to be led by somebody like that. So it's okay for you to be like, I'm really amazing and I'm super wise and I'm super knowledgeable and I'm very loving and caring and empathetic and compassionate. Yes, I'm an amazing person. That's where we need to get to.
Yes.
And I know that you feel that about yourself.
I do. I just say it out loud.
It's the maybe you do need to say it out loud to yourself. Okay.
I think marriage, he was always calling me a narcissist all the time.
Yeah.
And finally had to leave. Yes.
That's the issue.
and myself. Don't call me that. So
Yeah.
no,
You're like,
I'm
no, I
like,
know I'm not. Yeah. I think probably what you need to do, because I can tell that the energy that you carry now is that you do feel these things about yourself. And so it's more pivoting towards the inner children and helping them feel that way about themselves. Because the reality bubble that she's in right now, what I like to call energetic timestamps, is they're stuck in these trauma loops where they think that these things are happening over and over again, and then they're creating these walls and barriers to protect you and them, right? And so that's what I was explaining to her today. I said, she's in a whole different reality now. She's not living around these people. Okay.
mm-hmm,
But all she's seeing is her memories. She's not
mm-hmm,
actually seeing Jackie the adult.
mm-hmm,
So this is where we have to come in and start explaining to them, like, hey, let me tell you how great my life is now. Like how much work I've done to not pull these people in anymore.
mm-hmm.
How I'm so very mindful about my time and energy and not allowing people to come in and treat me like that. And doing things that bring me, joy. That's how I've been able to shift, because it sounds also that you've made a lot of shifts to get yourself in better situations in life.
Yeah.
Yes.
And very quickly, a lot of shifts very quickly, I feel like.
So we just need to explain that to them. Like, not just her, not just the 11-year-old, because you probably have some other ones in there too. She's the one that wanted to come forward today. And when we start feeling these walls and guards and these fears coming up and these triggers and all these things that are not representative of you in the current, this identity that you are, well, we know where that stuff's coming from. But then if we don't talk to them about it, they're just kind of sitting in their trauma loops.
Mm-hmm. Which makes complete sense.
Yeah, sometimes they just don't know. Sometimes there is a lot of consciousness layers in between. And if they're in a lot of fear and anxiety and panic down in there, it makes it really difficult for them to hear you, just like it's difficult for you to hear your higher self when you're in
Yeah.
panic and fear and anxiety, right? And so this is where we have to really be cultivating safety and security with them and showing them that you're not in that reality anymore. So when you start getting panicked and all these things, this is a great time to say, hey, can you tell me what you need to feel safe right now? Can you tell me why you don't feel safe?
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell me what from the past is triggering you that you think is happening right now? So I can explain to you how that's not happening. So what kind of relationship do you have with your inner children right now?
Not really any. I don't talk to them that much. So it's definitely something I was hoping would come up.
Okay. Perfect then. Okay. And this is a great segue into shamanism as well, because that's a shamanic practice of going in and doing timeline healing, because they're still alive and breathing, like their consciousness within you. Okay. That's why we experience PTSD and trauma, because they're still living, breathing consciousnesses of self. Okay. So when we are going in to help them heal, it really opens up the window to a lot of other things too. It'll teach you how to talk to different incarnations, how to reach deeper levels in your Akasha field. Like it really is expansive, like going in this way with them. I do want to say, your higher self wants me to make sure that I say that it's totally fine that you haven't been doing that beforehand. They're okay. Okay. Sometimes you need to get your 3D human set. Okay.
Yes.
You cannot help inner children inside if you don't feel safe in the present.
Yes.
If you're not talking good to yourself right now, how are you going to help them talk good about themselves? Right. So you've been on the trajectory you've meant to be. Now it's just time to go deeper.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay? Yeah. So what we don't want to do is feel guilty for like, oh no, it's supposed to happen in divine alignment. Okay. So they're just coming forward today to be like, okay, I'm ready to do this work. That's why she came forward.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you like to do for fun?
I camp. I'm outside all the time. I've recently been reading more. And that's what I'm really learning is what I like to do for fun.
Yes. Yeah. Well, especially if we didn't get to have a lot of fun when we were a kid.
Yeah.
It can be a little bit more of a difficult road figuring that out as an adult, because it's just like work, 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 work.
Yes. Yeah. And that's what I did. I worked all the time as a teenager. So,
Yeah.
so this is different. So I'm trying all sorts of new hobbies.
Love that. I would when we are starting to work with our inner kids, what we don't want to do is jump in straight with the trauma work and be like, tell me about all these horrible memories. Okay, because that's gonna scare them and that's not fun, right? So
No.
what I would suggest to kind of like open up these windows of communication is one, just start with this 11-year-old and invite her to come do the activities with you. Like it can just be
I,
simple, you saying over self, either out loud or internally, like, hey, I would love if you went on a walk with me. I would love if you read this book with me or watch this movie or this TV show. And then if there's things that you want to talk to me about, that's fine. I'm not going to force you to do that because we're just now starting to communicate with one another. But I just want you to come do fun things with me first. That's it. Just
I
start there. Okay.
love
And
that. It's perfect.
yes, because if you have abandonment and trust wounds from childhood, even though maybe your parents were there, but if you're not getting what you need,
Mhm.
that's a form of abandonment, right? You
Mhm.
have to build abandonment. I know you have to heal trust relations or have trust relationships with them in order for them to feel comfortable with you to share those things with the heavier and dense stuff that happened during childhood. And so what we want to do is just be like, hey, I'm just here to be your friend right now. We'll get to that eventually. Okay, I'm not going to force you to do that. And I have found that that is so much more effective than just going like head in. So you can also ask her too, what does she like to do for fun? Because she might give you something completely different. Like, let's make friendship bracelets,
Yeah.
whatever that is. And if you learn to hear her and listen to her, and then carry those things out that you didn't get when you were a child, that you didn't get listened to or validated, or people spending time with you or feeling like they really care, and then you're doing that for her, that's going to heal those abandonment and trust wounds. That's going to help her come out of the shell. It's going to help her see the world in a different light. You can be that friend that she needed. That really, because I could see in your field where you had friends growing up, but they didn't really get you. Right. And so there's always this kind of like, okay, well, nobody understands, even my friends. Okay, which I get too. Okay, because we were very hypersensitive and talking about stuff that people are like, what the heck are you even talking about? Okay. Okay. So with the fear of people, so I used to hate people, like just all of them generally. Okay, because I had been hurt so many times. And I said, okay, well, I want to be an energy healer, even and it's so contradictory. Like I want to go help people, but at the same time, I don't want to do that. It was just because I wasn't around the people that were meant for me. And so it was causing a lot of dissonance, right? And so
Mhm.
I trekked back and figured out where these abandonment wounds and trust wounds are coming from and being hurt from persons. And I said, I need to reset how my inner children are seeing people, because when we are going out in public or when we are going to our jobs, we are frequency reading everyone to find who is dangerous. We are frequency reading to people to see who is mad and angry and who has chaotic energy fields, who is a potential threat. And then because we're placing our energy and attention on that, we draw those people to us.
Mhm.
And that is why it is so difficult being out in public places. So it wasn't so much social anxiety, it was that we were a very adept channeler that was channeling the wrong things. Okay, does that sound in resonance?
Yes, it does.
Okay, okay. Which is really funny because you end up becoming a nurse. You got to talk to people all the time. So
Right.
maybe you healed a lot. It's also different when you have a role in a job, though. It's easier to deal with people. Like when I was a bartender, I was like, yeah, I don't like people, but at least I have a role, and it's like a transactional thing
Yeah.
almost, and it's not like we're having conversations, like with one another. But I would guess that you being in like regular social situations is probably difficult for you.
It can be. I put up walls
Yes.
in all situations. Don't let anybody get too close.
Yes. The issue with that is it also blocks out the people who are good for us. And it doesn't
Oh.
allow them to see us because we have all these like layers, right? And we are prepping ourselves to be hurt. And so we're putting up all these walls and guards that we don't actually need, because you have a lot of tools and resources. Like I think if you're out and about, you can tell the difference between whether somebody's in alignment with you and not, even if you're not even speaking to them. Like you can read their energy fields. Okay. So what I did with my inner children was, and don't do this at like Walmart, okay, because it's always chaotic in there, okay, but like the grocery store or the pharmacy, like start there, okay, somewhere that's like easy for you to go into and not super crowded. So I would sit in my car before I went in, and I said, okay, we're going to take some deep breaths, and I'm going to ask y'all to come forward, my inner children. And I said, I want to remind y'all that we are safe, and I love you, and I don't need you to protect me. That's what my job is. That's my responsibility. Okay. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to go in this store, and instead of looking for scary things with people, I want y'all to find the most fun thing that you can possibly find in here. And we're going to make it a game, and we're going to make it a race. Who can find the most magical thing first? It can be somebody smiling. It can be flowers. You can go to the toy section. It can be glittery, sparkly things, whatever makes you happy, right? And then when they find that, we're going to celebrate them like, good job, awesome, okay? What that is doing is redirecting their energy. It's saying, oh, I'm safe enough to allow my imagination to come out, and I'm going to look for the frequencies that make me happy instead of scared. And then when I would get back in the car, I would do a debrief with them, and I would say, hey, do you notice how I kept you safe? Do you notice how we didn't have to look for those people? How we don't have to energy read everybody in the room? Do you notice how much better that felt going into that environment? If you do that 5 or 6 times, they're going to start doing that automatically. They will just be like, oh, let me find the people that are smiling. And then it really changes all the interactions you start having with people. You start drawing in people who are complimenting you and gifting you and holding doors open for you, and like reiterating that reality paradigm with your inner children. And then they start to say, oh, wow, people are really amazing. I love people, and they love me. And that is one of the ways that I healed those like really deep wounds of being so terrified of other people and have horrible social anxiety, and being able to do the things that I do now is just recentering their attention and reminding them that's my job to protect y'all. I don't need y'all to be running that programming. I don't need you to be on high alert all the time. I need y'all to have fun, but I need you to look for the fun. I need you to look for the magic, because what I anticipate what you're doing when you go in public, where are the exits? Okay. Where are all the men in here? Okay. Like all these like, and we're like, our central nervous system is overloaded, and we're like kind of like a wild animal that's kind of looking out for all these like threats around us. And we're super tense and constricted. And then people are walking by us, and we're energy reading them. Not just energy reading them, but energy reading the whole entire space, which is probably leaving you overstimulated and burnt out and no energy. And so if you are experiencing that on a consistent enough basis, it's not leaving you enough energy for you to go after your pursuits, your other pursuits. Especially because you are training in nursing and all those things, you're already having to use a lot of energy for that. Okay. So what questions do you have about working with your inner children that way? Or do you think that's something you'll try?
That's definitely something I'm going to try. And that's a great way to start. I'm excited to try it.
It's real easy. It's just an easy thing that you can implement. And here, let me fix my camera real quick. Kids love games. They love for you to gamify things, to make it like a treasure hunt. What's the most magical things you can find? It is really important, if you do that, to have the pre-talk and the post-talk, because that's how you're going to regulate your central nervous system and remind them, I don't need y'all to do this for me. Y'all just focus on fun. And then when you do the debrief, it's like, notice that we were safe. Okay, while we let our guards down and our walls down. Okay, because there are a lot of things that would be available to you if you did not have the walls and guards up. A lot better experiences just in life in general, because the walls and guards are giving like, stay away from me. Or it's giving kind of like angry energy of like, don't mess with me. When some of the that's not warranted all the time. Like some people just want to come up to you and like be in your energy field. And I have a feeling that you don't have those with your students.
No.
You're very like open and free because they're your people.
Uh,
Okay. So
yeah.
how do you feel in their presence in conjunction to being just out and about regular?
I feel lighter and more, I feel more aligned, like more like my authentic self.
Yes.
Rather than when I'm out, the walls are up.
Yeah. It takes a lot of energy to hold up those walls.
Yeah, it does. It's exhausting. I'm done.
Yeah, it does. It does. So your higher self is like, hey, we have raised our consciousness level up so much, and we have a lot of these understandings, and we do consciously realize why we do not need to have these protective measures in place. And so, because you have reached this level, you can actually just restructure your reality and start bringing in people like your students, but out in public. We just need to get a better handle on our inner children taking over our central nervous system. It's like a hop, skip, and a jump. Like it's really like when I started doing that exercise in 30 days, completely different reality, completely different. But I had to be very intentional with having those conversations with them pre and post whenever I could. Like, I don't know if you have kids. Sometimes I didn't have time to like do that all the time. But when you do have time, and in 30 days, it was a huge, massive turnaround. It also helped me in my business and with my finances. Like there was a huge radiation because I was not in survival mode. I was not in panic that something was constantly going to happen to me. It was like, no, let's just look for the joy in life. Okay. So it'll change out your filter lenses everywhere.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So what questions? Oh, go ahead.
I've been noticing the magic more often, but now I just need to bring my inner children with me to see it more.
Absolutely. Yeah. Bring them on the, you could be like Miss Frizzle.
Yes. I've been a lot like her, my teaching stuff.
Yes, that's what one of your inner kids is like. Oh, like Miss Frizzle. She can be like Miss Frizzle. so you can get them to hop on the magic school bus with you. Yeah. And just reminding them just, hey, I know that y'all have had some trust issues, but of everybody in the whole entire world, I am the one to trust. I will always keep you safe. I will always protect you. I have been working very, very diligently on myself so that I can recognize these patterns and recognize these behaviors. And I have been letting them go, and I have been getting us to a higher frequency of life, and we are in a completely different reality. And so all of that is evidence of how it is time for y'all to really trust me. Mm-hmm. And that's paying off because your 11-year-old came forward today and she was like, me. Okay, I'm ready. Okay. Yes. Okay. What questions do you have about the things that we talked about?
I can't think of any off the top of my head here. It's exactly what I needed to hear. Thank you.
Okay. Okay.
My higher and the self,
yeah,
which I am.
Yeah. And she wasn't even really coming in and saying like, hey, you need to work on this, and this. Because sometimes that is what sessions are like, hey, we have a lot of like trauma and PTSD to look at. This is more just like helping your kids with their self-concept and helping them not be so scared of people. Because that's one of the, I don't like to call them barriers, but let's call it a growth moment. That's one of the growth moments that you're currently working through is you're not able to see further down the timeline of homeopathic Jackie or Jackie working for herself or doing energy healing because they have that fear of people. The more people I am around, the more they will hurt me, or there is a more propensity, or they're going to ridicule me, or they're going to make fun of me. And what I was explaining to her was, no, these are your people. These are the people that will love you unconditionally and be like, oh my gosh, thank goodness you're my mentor and you're my guide. Okay. I said, these are the persons who are going to lift you up and make you feel so magical and fun and free and liberated. But we have to start olive branching. You have to trust Jackie to keep you safe. She is not going to allow somebody to come in and hurt you in that manner. And so one of the rules that I have with myself is when I'm hanging out with people, would I let my inner child hang out with this person? If that's a no, then we need to readjust the time and energy with that person because they are always listening and they are always watching. Okay.
Mhm.
So I don't know if you have anybody like that in your life right now, but maybe because your higher self wanted me to say that. So,
Yeah, I'm gonna
okay.
more tuned to it.
More tuned to it. And you know, that could also be I'm not saying that we need to necessarily like cut people out of our life, but just readjusting what we are allowing to happen, whether that is with our boss or our students or our friends or our romantic partner of is this helping me heal my abandonment and trust wounds the way that I'm communicating with these persons? Am I being too overgiving with them?
Mhm.
Am I being too empathetic? Okay. Do I need to hold better boundaries or be more assertive or you know, don't let people talk to me some type of way? Okay. So, because I envision that you are a very empathetic person that probably lets people do a little too much sometimes. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's where we have to be really thinking of instead of just thinking about self now, we really need to start like, hey, we have all these children inside that we are reparenting and we are healing them. We need to be thinking about them as a collective and what we need to do as the higher self in order to move them up the frequency ladder, the consciousness ladder, the healing ladder, because helping them helps us move forward in the next chapter. Because they've got these energetic cords running that has all this heavy stuff attached to it. So you're over here kind of like trying to swim up to the surface. And they're like, no, come back down here. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So this is where we have to start helping them with their energy cords. They're not yours anymore. They're theirs. You've already worked through a lot of this stuff because you're having this conversation with me right now. Like, yeah, I know all these things. I figured all these things out, right? So you're doing great. It's just now releasing them at that deeper level so you can move forward. So what do you want to do? You want to own your own business? You want to own your own homeopathic energy healing business?
Maybe. I just don't really want to do all the paperwork and stuff for it. I just want to
Okay.
do the healing part.
Yes. Okay. Excuse me. Are you wanting to do like a facility where you have multiple people working with you, or is it something that you just want to do on an individual level, or what have we been thinking about?
I would do better working with people. I love to come up with different ideas. Um, Maybe some public speaking,
Cool.
different things like that too. So we'll see. I'm going to start teaching some parenting classes, so that's something new.
Great. Love that. Okay.
But
If you were going to go travel and you were going to do a speech, what would you do a speech on?
gosh, one thing I love about is babies and raising kids because now they just have so much overstimulate the babies,
Oh,
and if
yeah.
we need to get to more natural, just look at them, make eye contact, love them,
Mm-hmm.
maybe help, that way then they don't have to deal with as much childhood trauma as they learn who they are from a young age compared to, learning later in life all these things.
Do you have kids yourself?
I do. I have a 10 and a 7-year-old
Oh,
boy.
nice. Okay. Okay. So yeah, you have kids for that too. Also, your inner children are a great way to because your kids have not dealt with the same thing as you did when you were a kid.
Yeah,
So
no.
if they're not dealing with that stuff, it's kind of a little bit more difficult to like help parent a child that's not been there, right? So your inner children, like helping them is going to help. Let's go say that you go help people with that parenting classes. When you're working on
Mhm.
that stuff with your own, that's going to be felt by these other parents. This is how we become an expert in that is just even just healing our own inner children. Okay, and helping liberate them, right? And spending time with them, all the things that you're talking about. Okay. So what would you say about putting together a presentation for an eventual talk that you would do on this? Not that we need to go do that like in real life.
Actually, I have been asked to put together a presentation. I
Mm,
brought to where I'm working for parenting classes and they loved it. And
right.
they want me to come and speak at the big, I don't know, it's not really a manager's meeting, but all
Mhm.
the heads of the learning center. So they have asked me to put a presentation together and I'm feeling a little nervous about it,
You're gonna do
but
great. You're going to do fantastic. You're going to do fabulous. You are going to do amazing. That's not just from your higher self. That's also from me.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Trust in your knowledge and wisdom and your empathy and your compassion and your understandings. Okay. So it sounds like you're right on track with everything. It sounds like, hey, I actually do know what I'm going to be doing, and I am taking action steps towards that.
Mm-hmm.
If we don't know all the like fine print, but
yeah,
you're on the way there, right? So you don't necessarily. Go ahead.
It's been hard to step into the unknown, but I'm just been trying to face my fears every day.
It sounds like you're doing that. Like even with this presentation, like you never know what opportunities are going to come out of that, or you might just get into it and be like, "Wow, I really love this," and then you just like are off to the races.
Right.
Yeah, and you don't have to necessarily run your own energy healing business. There's lots of like homeopathic things all over the United States that you could partner with. You know, there's lots and lots of different options. Like if paperwork's not your thing, or running a business, you can partner with people and do that. But this sounds like a great first step into that, and you're headed on the right path. Your higher self's like, good job, you're doing all the things that you need to be doing. Okay. I would say to help take this deeper is to one, work with that dragon Eldridge, because he can help you with releasing that trauma PTSD stuff that's kind of still down in there with your inner children. He can help you work through that, or helping other people, and being able to see through their trauma better, so that you can better reflect back to them how those amazing parts of them. Like you hold up mirrors to people, right? So when they are speaking to you, they are not seeing themselves through their trauma and PTSD. They're like, I can see Jackie, see me as my true authentic self under here. And so they're able to like let those walls and guards down to let somebody reflect back to them like their amazing facets that maybe they have never felt before. It's kind of like the same thing you went through, like that you're actually healing within yourself. You're going to be able to help people with that, and like help them be able to shine and be authentic and come out of that turtle shell. Yes. Okay. I would also research Peruvian shamanism, and I'll send you some video resources for that too.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any questions?
I don't think so.
Okay. What was your biggest takeaway today?
That I'm on the right path, that I'm doing the healing I need to do, and now it's time to just take it to the next level.
Yeah. And it even sounds like you have the next steps too.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, yep, I'm gonna go do this presentation.
Okay. I got it.
Yeah. so you got it. So sometimes we need somebody else to reflect back to us that we're on the right path and we're doing the things and we're not missing things. Your higher self is like, nope, we're good to go. Okay, Jackie, it was lovely meeting you face to face. I'm going to send you your oracle cards and your crystal grid. I'll send you those resources, and then I'll send you the replay as well.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. And if there's anything that I can help you with, or connections or anything like that for your homeopathic, what happened to my camera? For your homeopathic path, because I do know some people that are in those realms, just let me know and I'll get you hooked up with them. Okay.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
All right. Have a magical day. Okay.